This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you by Lads to Leaders. Are you looking for something to help your kids learn to lead, both now and in the future? What if you could find something that offered year-round opportunities along with a yearly convention to help hone skills and learn to deal with competition in an encouraging and loving atmosphere? In 1968, Dr. Zorn began a program with 8 boys in hopes that they would learn to lead in their churches and communities. Now, 55 years later, there are 20,000 boys and girls each year that participate in activities that are true to the mission of Dr. Zorn's program. Lads to Leaders has trained over 250,000 young people and brings whole congregations together with competitive and non-competitive events, activities for people ages 3 to 103, and Bartimaeus events for special needs participants of all ages. The convention takes place in 10 cities of the U.S., as well as the countries of India, the Philippines, and Romania. The leaders of the future are trained in the present. So go to ladstoleaders.com to check out all the things this program has to offer. That's leaders.com.
Welcome in to Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis, brought to you by the Slawburger Chase 5K, 10K for Landon Carr. We are coming to you from West Virginia. My first trip to West Virginia, Ben. And I've killed a deer. I've slayed a deer. First one in my entire life.
A lot of firsts for you this week.
Took a automobile to do it, but success nonetheless. And we're here with, if you're watching the video, there is no need for introduction. We're here with the Skits With A Truth that Ben and I are blessed to be a part of. And they also have patience and all that good stuff to be on a podcast late at night after a long day of doing different things at a youth rally in service to the kingdom. But you guys doing all right? We'll start down there with Rick Schatz, right? Rick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. It's been a good day.
It's good. Rick Schatz. Rick Schatz. Lonnie, how are you, man?
Man, I'm living the dream of some of my favorite people in the world, doing one of the things I enjoy the most, and that is delivering with Skits with A Truth, the S.W.A.T team.
Well, all right. We've got the actual dynamic duo, Derek and Lisa Horst. So,
right.
How are y'all doing?
Doing very well. It's been a great day.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
Lisa, in her tremendous amount of patience, I always got to butter Lisa up because she controls her lights and therefore controls really how the show goes more than anybody else. So I'm always trying to keep her happy. We're sitting here with pepperoni roll with cheese. I am filled with pepperoni, and I couldn't be any happier about it. And I'm looking forward to eating some more.
Apparently, that's a West Virginia delicacy, is the pepperoni roll. So if you're ever in West Virginia, you got to find some.
They're invented to feed the miners a non-perishable snack when they were in the mines.
Nice.
And that's how they came to
So
be.
They are quite good.
They are.
So it's a roll, basically, some sort of bread.
Now let me guess,
Yeah,
and there's pepperoni in it.
pepperoni.
Who named this delicacy?
Every now and then you get a little cheese in there, too.
Every middle school boy is rejoicing at that answer because,
Yes.
They're always great with, what does it mean to be the helper, to help people? Thank you.
There it is.
But this is the long-awaited Ask S.W.A.T Anything. Now, I will encourage you to go back. We recorded a couple of episodes with S.W.A.T when we were the Batify podcast. We called it S.W.A.Tify, part 1, 2, and 3. So check that out. Some of the questions, we'll go ahead and re-ask them. Were answered in those. But I guess the big one is, go ahead and tell us the background, because that's what we always get asked. How does it start? How did S.W.A.T Skits With A Truth get its go? And then we'll go with some questions.
And I believe that's for you, Lonnie Jones.
So Jackie and I moved to Huntsville in 1986 to work with the Memorial Park of Church of Christ. And the elders said, in 90 days, we want our young people to be evangelistic. Well, in my mind, evangelism starts with being comfortable in front of people and comfortable being articulate truths in a conversational way. So we asked permission to meet on Wednesday nights after church and start doing just little vignettes or scenarios where we would do experience-based learning. We would do everything from, hey, here's the lyrics of a song, read them like a dramatic reading so that you can put feeling and emphasis in it. Or, hey, here's a clipboard, interview this guy and ask him the questions you'd ask him if he were trying to be hired, quote-unquote, as a Christian. Hey, you're a lawyer in a case and you're trying to prosecute a guy and convict him of being a Christian. What are the things you'd accuse? And we created these little scenes. Well, it turned out that people learned that we were doing this and wanted to see some of the scenes. And so we decided that we would take our quote unquote show on the road. And so I had seen drama troops before, and one group that particularly impressed me had used lights very effectively. So we set up a blackout format, and then we decided that instead of everybody wearing t-shirts or blue jeans, or everybody would be uniform. So we started wearing an all black single piece jumpsuit, and that fit my mentality of SWAT. We look like a SWAT team. So we created the Skits With A Truth, and that's how the SWAT team started. And we traveled once a month from 1987 to 1998 with a group of teenagers, guys and girls in the program, until I went into private practice. And then we turned it into kind of a quasi-invitation-only private team at Maysville with some of their high school kids, some of their college kids. And then 8 or 9 years ago, we recruited just some adult males to be our primary actors to eliminate any travel issues with people who weren't married to each other, traveling around the country doing stuff.
So that question comes from Sambo_Elrod. So thanks for that question from Instagram. And I'm going to jump on this one and give you guys a chance to think about your answer, because this is always the one, you know it's coming, your favorite skit, or the one that you like the most. And that comes from hey.itslydia, or it's.lids or something, Lyds. A favorite skit of the last few years. I'm going to go ahead and throw out one I think some of you will agree. Probably the one we get a lot of the response on was the Angel skit from a few years ago that ended this year. Barabbas is similar. I kind of like that because we're given kind of scenes from stuff that maybe you don't think about when you think about the crucifixion. And I thought it was neat this year with Barabbas and then the sounds of the cross that were at CYC. But I think the Angel skit is the one I hear about the most. I enjoyed doing that one because it changed my perspective on kind of how that went down. So I'll kick it over to Ben and let him throw in there and give y'all even more time to think about it.
Well, if you hadn't taken mine, that'd be great.
See, that's what I thought I'd do, yeah.
Somebody today asked me at the youth rally, and that was the one I gave them. I said, that's probably it. And he was like, I've heard you guys give those answers on the podcast, so he had listened before. I think one that we did this year, if I just kind of, besides that one that kind of is similar, was I liked the angel and the demon skit. The one that kind of, they weren't the same skit, but they kind of played off of each other, the plan and the other plan. We got that confused a little bit, but just the idea of, what's the plan to try to tempt these Christians, and it ends with, well, we could convince them that there's no hurry. Everything else kind of seemed like a silly idea, but hey, if we can get people to understand there's no hurry, get some apathy going on, then we can, convince these Christians to sort of, take a step away from their Christianity. And the other one was the other plan, and there is no other plan. We're trying to figure out why God's not using the angels, and He's already said, I'm just using humans. So there's no other plan if the humans don't make it work. So, it's kind of a simple one, but I really liked. I thought that it had some power to it. That hey, we got some things we need to take care of. So,
Lisa, what you got? What do you think? For your perspective with the lights, is there one that speaks to you? And it doesn't have to be this year. It doesn't have to be the last few years.
Probably
Just
this
over
year,
the years.
probably time.
Yeah.
that's a good one too.
When we're dear kills time, and they're not giving up time to do things they want to do. That's probably the one that gets me this year.
We've all got a plan, right? But we don't know how much time we got. Good answer. Rick, you want to weigh in on that same one?
Lisa, I just like, you guys have taken all mine. But yeah, I think time, because you do kind of plan your life out, and you don't realize that your life can be over in an instant. And so you've got to make eternal plans, to make sure that you're prepared for something like that. So yeah, time.
Derek?
Probably, well, I think the most impactful skit we have done until we did the Angel skit, the most impactful closer we've done is the Christian Light and Judgment skit. That seems to always hit home. It hits home with me every time we do it, and I think it's a good one for everybody who's watching it also.
So I kind of like the Christian Light and Judgment. In the original days, it was two separate skits, and Christian Light was a running skit. and you get the I'll tell him later, I'll tell him later, I'll tell him later at different parts in the show. At the very end of the show, you get the judgment scene. And at some point, we combined the 3 scenes of that and the judgment scene into one skit. That's why it's called Christian Light and Judgment, because it used to be 2 different scenes. So that's been my favorite for a long, long time. The angel skit, I call it Archangel. I wrote it back in the early 80s as a monologue. You're just the angel there, and everybody else was imaginary. And then when I got it to where all of us could be in it, I saw the potential in that a long time ago. And the Barabbas skit is actually Kyle Butt wrote it, because he does a sermon, Faces at the Cross. And he says, picture Barabbas in his cell, and he doesn't know anything going on because the temple is here, the Roman fortress Antonio is here, and then probably the prison is there. And all he can hear is, Barabbas! And the next thing he hears is, crucify! And what he has to be thinking when that soldier walks in and opens that door and then lets him go. And I thought, how can we tell that story as a skit? Yeah. Because you can't do it from just Barabbas' perspective. You got to have somebody narrate it. Well, who narrates it? Well, the other guy's in the cell with him. And we even played with the idea that the other guys in the cell, 2 of those guys were going to be the thieves on the cross, the robbers. But we didn't develop it like that. I think it runs the way it goes. Yeah. But that's how those skits came to be. And, I guess I'd say the angel first, Archangel, and then Christian Light and Judgment, and then probably Barabbas. And then I liked an old skit we used to do called Ralph Gadberry about Christians who knew this guy needed attention and didn't give him the time of day, and he ended up being lost. And it's the idea that these things that anybody can do, but nobody does them. Kind of similar to Ben.
Everybody said that anybody could do. Yeah.
The voices.
Yeah.
The voices.
The voices. The many voices.
All right. So, Lonnie, this has been going on. You guys have been doing this for a long time. I assume that most of the long distance travel has been since it's been mostly the adults, but I think y'all traveled a good ways with your other groups. But somebody asked, what is the longest distance that S.W.A.T has traveled for these events that we do? So perspective, we went, 8 this weekend? 8 hours?
We do 10 to go to Dallas.
Yeah.
And we stay in the same time zone.
Mm-hmm.
So that the 8 hours here is actually only 7.
Yeah.
We've been to Kernersville, North Carolina. We did a show in Des Moines, Iowa, but it wasn't an official S.W.A.T show.
Okay.
We were there, and the guy leading the mission trip said, hey, I got 4 or 5 of you guys that do skits. Can y'all do them? And so we did a real short show in Des Moines, Iowa. And we actually took 4 members of the team, or 5, and did a youth rally in Cloverdale, Indiana. We did a VBS and a youth gospel meeting, and we did a skit every night at the gospel meeting, which technically was S.W.A.T, but it wasn't a traditional show. So I guess Texas is going to be our furthest.
Probably it,
yeah.
So our Slawburger Chase 5K, 10K question of the day. I'm looking forward to this one. From Colton_Gooch6 on Instagram. He asked, who's the coolest member? With 2 question marks and 2 eyeballs, like, how's this answer going to go? And I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm going to go ahead and answer first, and it may be a little off the wall here, and Derek hopefully will agree with me. But Lisa, I think Lisa's the best, right? Because, well, first of all, once again, she controls the show. Yeah. But this lady has so much dirt. I mean, she could bring us all down in one fell swoop.
That's true.
And has never threatened to do that. So maybe I just gave you some ammunition for the ride home tomorrow. But I'm going Lisa.
She keeps us in line, and she goes through the challenge of traveling with all of us.
And she has to watch the developmental process and has veto power.
That's right.
She can go, I don't get it. It looks dumb. It's lame. And so actually, I wouldn't say the coolest as much as I would the most influential member.
Sure.
Because because we get to talking about
She's
it, and,
cool.
and we're like a bunch of 7th graders at a sleepover going, "This is funny," and then by the time we've been up too late doing it, hey Mom, look at this.
She's like,
She
y'all
goes-
got to work on
And
that.
she goes, "That's dumb,"
Yeah.
or I don't get it. So,
Brutal truth.
yeah.
That's true.
She will tell you the truth in a heartbeat.
We are
Which is a
missing,
good thing.
but the
I really
coolest
think-
member might be Rico.
I think
Not Michael, but Rico.
I think Rico Suave's got the most suave.
He's not with us. We're missing Michael this
Miss
week.
you, Michael.
Well, when you announce that Rico will not be with us, there is a groan.
There was
that
a
goes
groan
over
in the crowd.
It's like,
Oh.
okay.
And I can do Rico. I created Rico, and I did the first one, but I gave it to Michael, and Michael and Rico are now synonymous with each other.
People go, "Where's
Okay.
Rico?" They don't ask where's
They don't ask
Michael.
where Michael,
Where's
they ask where Rico is.
So, Rico
So I think
is
Rico's
Michael.
our coolest member.
Yeah.
So Rick, Derek, weigh in. Are y'all in agreement with
Oh yeah,
Lisa and
most,
Michael?
most
or-
assuredly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We let you off the hook there, maybe, but it's true.
He has
It's
to
true.
say
He has to
He
say
has to say that.
Yeah,
I
he
kind of
has
said
to.
that for him.
He's smart man.
On the Helping Healing Humor podcast, we talk about anxiety and stress and its impact on our everyday lives. We know that finances, including planning for retirement, is one of the leading causes of stress. It can be confusing and overwhelming. There are differing opinions on the best approach. It can be hard to know who to trust. For our retirement planning, Whitney and I trust Greg Howell of Howell Wealth Management at Northwestern Mutual. Greg is professional, knowledgeable, and accessible. He looks at the whole picture and thinks outside the box to create ways to help you reach your financial goals. Retirement planning can be especially challenging for ministers who do not have the benefit of a 401k, but Greg's expertise and creativity can get you on the right path and give you confidence for the future. Text him to schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at 931-638-1576. Be sure to tell him Ben and Travis sent you. Remember, that's Greg Howell of Howell Wealth Management at Northwestern Mutual, 931-638-1576.
So we get a lot of questions about the scripts. You get a lot of questions from people who come up and they say, "Hey, can we get a copy of the scripts or whatever?" And somebody asked, "Who is the worst at getting the script memorized?" So we'll let you answer the question of
feel like
who is the worst at
Yeah,
getting
Lonnie.
the script
Who?
memorized.
Who's the worst, Lonnie?
So this
So
question's kind of loaded.
First of all, we don't memorize scripts.
Yeah.
We do what's known as a skeleton script. An actually trained actor, notice I skipped that word,
Saw that.
told me, said, "What you guys do is a skeleton script." So we create a beginning. This is a standardized intro. And the hardest part about a SWAT skit is the ending. You got to have that succinct, encapsulated. Here I'm making my own commercial. That's the hardest part of doing my podcast. I can tell a good story, but if you don't end it with the right phrase,
Right before down,
Yeah.
you got to get it right
yeah,
there.
you got to go boom, And so once we have the beginning and the ending, how we get there is almost.
It really is. We are the script.
It's almost
It can
improv.
be to
So
a large
you
degree,
and I
yeah.
would do a skit differently than me and Ben would do the same skit, and you watch us when we have to change personnel.
Mhm.
But when it comes down to, I get married to a phraseology. Okay, there are certain members of the team that don't think like I think, and so sometimes molding them into that idea is challenging.
And Travis Creasy is one of those guys. I'll go ahead and sign up.
I'm one of
It's,
those guys.
Yeah, I don't think much like
But it's the
anybody
thing
else,
where
but-
I see it this way, and I don't get married to it as long as it doesn't come off cheesy. We call it
but
leave it to Beaver
We've all
endings.
seen you. This is the way I think that line should be delivered, but then you change because somebody will come up with one, or they'll deliver it differently. You're like, oh, I like that better. So
Yeah.
Well, we probably could answer the question the opposite. Who's the best at doing them? And I said something to you today about the fact that, we had to change personnel. Michael's not here. Y'all had to do it the other day because Michael and I were at one. And I think Lonnie is the best at just being able to do it because there's lines we struggle when we're practicing to get, and then Lonnie just rolls them. But I think you've just done this so long and you've worked at this so long that it's just something that's just, and you also have that mind that doesn't forget anything. You ask me to tell a story and I'm like, I don't remember the story. I don't remember the details. And you can just
he knocks
carve them out.
like
I mean,
that.
it's
Yeah.
just so easy. So
Yeah.
I think the opposite would.
So we are such unique individuals, and our thought processes are different. That's what makes it work. I think sometimes Rick will grab a concept and stay with the original thing we talked about. In his mind, that's what it is.
Yeah.
We did a series with superheroes, and we changed them. But the original thing was, it was identity. And we had lost our identity because we were in a nursing home. And for the first 4 times we practiced, Rick stayed with the idea, oh, we're all old superheroes. And so he was staying with us. I was like, Rick, we changed that a month ago. We're not, And so Rick gets the concept, and his visualization of the concept sometimes makes his lines come out different than we want them to.
Yeah.
But once he gets them, he gets them.
Yeah.
And my favorite Rick Shot skit is the cake batter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Cooks according to King James
Yes.
instructions.
Awesome.
That owns my soul, man, and it's good stuff. Just like when we do the cross shop, that's one of my favorites too. Is Rick walks in and he thinks the door has to have a bell.
Everything's literal to me.
But if you have a bell on your door, the door hits the bell. But Rick walks in and hits the bell as he walks in.
But I love the fact that, and I'd like for us to do this, just kind of talk about, the different aspects that we all have and bring to the table. But that's the great thing about Rick is he comes in and he's, he's kind of the business professional guy, And so when he hits those lines that are funny, they're great.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's funny.
Kind of
Yeah,
catches you off guard. You're not expecting.
He comes in, and one of the skits this year, he's the boss man trying to hire me and Ben. And he just delivers those lines, just matter of fact. That's what he's done. He's done it all his life. But there's little hints there that this is funny. Like he doesn't shake Ben's hand, but he shakes mine and walks by him. And it's like he just kind of leaves him hanging. But there's those little aspects that he brings. It's like the cake.
We're in Missouri, and we're doing a sports fanatic. And out of the blue, unrehearsed, Rick shows up in an Auburn helmet with a foam finger and the score of the Auburn versus Missouri game on a sign and walks out in front of a crowd of 200 people with it. No one prepared for this. We don't know. Now we're going to have to fight our way out. But that's Rick falling full into character.
Go Pitt.
Did Go Pitt today instead of Go Vols
You gotta
on the
respect
Tourette
that.
syndrome. Yeah,
Well, and so Lonnie wants this to be a free-flowing, you like the improv. And I am not so much improv. I'm a lot more structured. So it's work for me to get to be freewheeling and so I have to do a little bit. I am a little bit more uptight, structured type thing. But I think that mix, we're all so different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at all you guys and I wish I could be like y'all. But you have to bring whatever you have to the table, and it works that way.
Well, if you need something serious and you need a line given seriously, this is not the guy. Now, you need somebody to do some facial expressions, and I love that challenge. I love the Barabbas. I wanted that part. I wanted to do that because that's a challenge to me. I want to do that. But if you need something serious, you need a line delivered, I'm probably not your guy.
We were rehearsing something without Rick. So Ben's supposed to imitate Coach Ogeron. And the first time he imitates Coach Ogeron, Ben does the Tasmanian Devil. Well, I lose my chips in the skin and go, no, Ben, it's supposed to be Coach O, not the Tasmanian Devil. Well, the first time we did it in rehearsal, Rick was like, man, Lonnie's in a bad mood. He jumped all over Ben about that line. And he didn't realize.
And it kept going on, and I kept thinking, man, what's up? And then it came on like, oh, that's a part of the skit. Oh, okay.
But Todd,
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.